Hello, everyone. Hello and welcome. Welcome to Lily's Journal. Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me for today's journal. Today is going to be an interesting one, right, Zeus? Zeus wanted to be here today. He wanted to be a part of 2020 predictions. There's a lot's going to be happening, you guys. Hi. So, we're going to welcome 2020 with a lot of clarity, you guys, right, Zeus? We're going to enter 2020 with a lot of clarity as those of us that are working on implementing Earth correction timelines. So I'm going to be talking to us today about those of you that know that you are the universal seed. And so you are now been working all this time to get where you are. And so we are going to be entering 2020 in a full clarity. And so the vision is clear now, you guys. All right. So hi, everyone. So for those of you who just joining us and you never met Zeus Caesar, he is part of our journaling. He always have been ever since he was about 8 weeks old. So anyway, you guys, I'm doing my hair thing differently. So forgive me if I am messing with it. So thank you, everyone, for joining me. I really appreciate you guys all being here. This is going to be one interesting one because as those of you that you know and you've been waiting for my journals, I wanted to do this on Saturday. Okay. So let me do the water first. So I am drinking apricots. These are crushed apricots. I keep thinking it's peach. It's apricots. Crushed apricots, fresh, frozen. And so it acts as ice and also infuses my sparkling water with apricots. Can't remember that. All right. So here's to 2020, you guys. Let's do this. Okay. So thank you so much, everyone. Hi, everyone who joined me. Thank you. So let's get to this, you guys. Okay, I'm going to talk today about this 2020 and clarity that a lot of us will experience this next year. And so today I have a few things that I want to talk about and few points about the future. And for those of you that know me and that follow me from the time I've been public about Earth correction timeline. And so maybe today, before I go on, I will go ahead and explain a little bit of the past and how it is that I do my predictions. So then you can have something to reflect and also to look back for yourself to see how my predictions did they pin up or did not pin up? You know what I mean? So this is where we are, because I always, from the very beginning, when I came out, you guys, I came out in publicly when and this is what I talk about, you guys, when those of you that are on shamanic journey and you are here manifesting this correction timeline, because ultimately this is what we are. The universal seeds are incarnated here in this timeline, in this reality, we as universal seeds, we are incarnated to manifest this correction timeline. And this is ultimately what, when I came out publicly, this is what I was talking about, is that implementation of correction timeline. But when I came out first into the public, I started talking about, yes, I've talked a lot about the harvesting system and how it operates and all of that stuff. So there was a lot of like sort of quantum mechanics type of work and type of videos that I had. My original videos are very scientific. Some might say they're scientific. Okay. With all of that, but originally what I was talking about is the correction timeline. And for those of you who can go back all the way to my first original interviews with Lisa Harrison, and in my second interview with her, which was just 2 weeks after my first original interview, I talk about cleanup crew. And I mentioned a cleanup crew and the mission for those who are here to do the cleanup, because that reality was going to be corrected. And so this was all of the things that I was announcing. I was announcing the healing path, and also I was talking about the 7 stages of healing that humanity, collective humanity, will go through. Okay. And I've talked about that is just like a grief healing. And so this was original sort of announcements that I had to make and talk about that there is going to be a quickening period. And in this quickening period, what there was going to happen a few things. The revelations, we were literally going to live through revelations period, literally. And so we're going to have revealers come to the surface, and then this is the cleanup crew. And then we have the cleanup crew, and then our reality will be transformed. And this is for those of you who can go back and see my prediction for 2016. Then during that year, because it was an interesting year, I actually give a prediction for like a decade ahead, and just for that year. And then lately, especially last 2 years, I didn't do any predictions at all, because my 2016 predictions did cover that period too, because I talked in there for all the way up to 2021. So that was that was the period that I talked about in there. So anyway, so those things, and this is why I have to go back and pull on some points from the past of what had happened in the past, and how my predictions sort of how, first of all, there is an overlap or overlay, like I said, not an overlay, an overlap in the predictions, because like I just mentioned, for those of you that don't know anything about 2016 prediction graph that I did, that was for correction timeline implementation and this whole process. It was like it covered from 2012 to 2021. Okay, and so that whole period there's a whole graph. And so when you look at it, and then the things that I point out is and that graph talks about the middle way is what the universal seeds are doing. And so then what's the higher manifestation of correction, and what's the intent of that correction? So it was in all depicted there in the green. And I was talking about how we are going to be moving through this 7 stages of healing that I talked about originally in 2014, in October of 2014. Okay. And so then comes now, and then So the way I do predictions, you guys, is like my original prediction was also a graph, which was um, an overview of the state of collective human consciousness on that time. That was pretty much at the 2013 mark. By the time I put that out, it was already, that information was already available for about a year or more. It just took me that long to to get brave and start talking about it. So anyway, hi Mac, thank you, WH Pavel, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it. So anyway, I'm gonna go back and talk about that, because for you to understand what I'm gonna be talking about today, my prediction today is gonna be, again, it's gonna be like an overlay over that, an overlap over those predictions, which will include that 2016 graph, which I will then eventually post it whenever I will in the group or something, I will post that graph for those of you that still have not seen it. Because it will overlay, because in there I talk about right now. And so then 2020 comes in and, okay, you're not happy, Caesar. Excuse me. All right, you good? So 2020 is kind of because of the zero in the number and the double zeros, okay? And so the zero is just like with if you work with, let's say, tarot cards, right? And so archetypes and all of that stuff, and if you work with other teachings or other metaphor or whatever it is, the mystery school, whatever mystery school you're you want to perceive that through, if you tarot card, so here we go. I have a tarot card right here, okay? So here's a tarot card, and you can look at this and you can say, okay, you can read about this card, and then as a shaman you can apply your own knowledge to how you read this in understanding what's happening. So if you look at right 2020, you would say that it would be the archetype 20, right? So it would be year 20. Okay, so this is a resurrection. Okay, so for those of you that work through tarot cards, then you can apply all of that knowledge of what I talk about. But that's why because my information is so personal to me, that's why I I have my almost own language in a way. Hi Amy, hi Dan, hey girls, thanks. Hi Sienkiewicz, thanks. Perfect vision. Yes, it's perfect vision 2020. So that means what I've talked about, Siankovic, is that that clarity. We're gonna have the ability to have that clarity. And that's what we've been working on. But what I was talking about ever since 2014, because I'm always looking, and I said at that, I consider myself a human consciousness investigator, because ever since I was a little tiny human being, I knew that I was investigating powers that are of spiritual nature. And so to me, that's my mission. That's my, whatever you want to call it. That's my knowledge. That's my cup of tea. If that's what you're, what you want to sort of, I had that clarity in a way, but I had a lot of blinders in a way. Why? Because through the blinders, I've gained the experience that I needed to be where I am today. It's going to be really lit, Emmy. You said 2020 is going to be so lit. Oh my God, the light is just like everything light. So guess what, you guys? Okay. So even with this, doing these predictions, okay, I plan to do it for Saturday. So I go in and I do my thing to, okay, to bring the information in, bring that sort of into the conscious mind. So I do my thing, I do my drums, I go here. I found, you guys, so close, like not even a mile away, this store from Nepal, and everything is from Nepal. And then so I was just got, even like the incense, the real incense. So I got that. I've been, doing all that stuff, but it's still Saturday, just everything just got broken. Nope, not gonna happen. The video is not gonna happen. Okay. So and then nature that morning never give me the confirmation. I never got the confirmation. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it because it wasn't the right time. I knew that, but I didn't know why. I still don't know why that was not the right time. Why today is the right time? I will tell you in a minute. My phone or somebody else's phone is dinging my. All right. So what happened? You guys, so I'm waiting for confirmation. Then Sunday, no confirmation. And so finally I got confirmation today, this morning. So you guys remember how I was talking about how how I have owls here since they were babies, and I've been watching them, and I walk with them with my big dogs, my big dog, my wolf, my big black wolf. So we go on the walk in the morning, and we have an open space here, and there was two baby owls, and then I told you guys about them, and then I've lost one. We've lost one. It wasn't there, and I don't know what happened to it, and it was for months it wasn't there. Guess who showed up this morning? In the last 3 days I didn't even see one of them. My poopster that I told you that I was he was gone and then he was back. This morning I go to see if my poopster's back there, and guess what? There's two of them sitting on the branch. I fell to the ground. I couldn't believe it. After so many months, the baby owl came back. And that was my sign today, that now the future. So for me, because this is what I look for, because that owl, it's an orange owl, and it has a huge meaning to me, those animals, because my son, as you guys know, my son was, his birthday was just a few days ago, and by the Native Americans, his horoscope, he is an owl, an orange owl. So that's his for my son. But there's more to it. But what I'm just telling you is just how I get my confirmations from nature. And then I all of a sudden felt like the flow was open today to talk about 2020. And so it's going to be an interesting year, you guys. It's going to be really interesting, because for those of you that know, and also I want to remind you back, and then I will attempt to post the link to that. If we have anything, we don't know what's going to happen to the channels tomorrow, to YouTube. So you guys may not be able to find me here. Who knows? We'll see what happens, but we'll see. Tomorrow, YouTube is doing their cleanup and purging. They're doing their own purging. And so, and this is something I want to talk about today too, because we are going to see a lot more of the purge, media purge that I talk about. So back to what I want to say is also, there's also a prediction that I did in 2018 about the purge in the media. And that was my last prediction that I ever made a video about. And then I just made a few cards kind of showing, like I kind of did with I Know What You Did in Ukraine movie of the year. So you kind of can guess what can happen and how everything's going to get revealed with that part and what that played. And so for me, for those of you, because my predictions are not in linear times, and so this is why it's difficult. So I always give my predictions sort of in the in the spiral sort of version. And the reason for that is because we do not exist in the linear time as the universal beings, because we're God's source in human form. God seed in human form, I guess. So the linear time does not apply to me. And that's the way I perceive my reality, because everything, the quantum field is in timeless space, in or you can say it's in all times. Okay. So for me, this is why when that in 2017, when we had the solar eclipse in America, and it was a huge marker for America for prophecy wise. And so the only thing in how the true prophecy work, they work as the marker in time, but you can't say exactly the linear time. And for those of you that have seen that graph that I said from 2016, and I talk about 2021, and I said dash 24, because I give myself a 3-year, because the mark, you can't, it could be 3 years. I could be off 3 years, you guys. That's what I'm saying. The way I don't see it. And so Amy or somebody asked, do you do psychic readings? In a way, I don't, but I've predicted so much for people around me that, I mean, shocking, like shocked. And some of the people creates fear of me in my family, because I've predicted like 20, 40, years ahead. I've made predictions when I was 5 in my family, and I would just say it. I always have very few things to say, but they're very strong. And so those are the only times, and this is when my higher self feels necessary to do that. I can never do it on, and this is why I can't say yes, I do psychic readings, because I can't do it on that. I can't make myself. It's got to be in divine timing, as I say. It's got to be in divine timing, because if it already, that knowledge in all of these things, if it already there, it's gonna manifest. Not it just like, because you're the observer and you affect the reality and you're projecting, because this is the reality that's self-generated, self-operated, and self-directed ultimately. But this is when you attain the mastery of being the master of self, meaning knowing the self. That's what it means, that then you operate on that knowing that this reality. So then you're a true creator being, then you're responsible for your creation and all of that stuff. And this is the 7 levels of, or 7 stages of healing that a collective level of humanity is going to go through. And you can look at that as though as we are going to be rebalancing the collective 7 chakras, because we have that too. Everything is connected. It's micro macro. I don't know, whichever. Those words, I'm losing words. Okay. So what I want to talk about so when I talk about that in 2017, when that prediction came through, it was very powerful, you guys, because I talk about cleanup crew a lot. I didn't mention a lot cleanup crew. I mentioned the cleanup crew in October of 2014. And then it was pretty much just a mention. And a lot of my things that I put, I also, if you look at my things that I've done, an interview that I've done, and the information that I put out there, a lot of it was on purpose, because it was from the past sort of into the future, to where there's some certain untanglement that you can do once you realize how the collective consciousness operates, and how each and every one individual human being contributes to that collective consciousness. And ultimately, you guys, all of my work and all of these videos that I make and all of these things that I do here to bring awareness to this, it has been, like I said, about bringing awareness about how collective consciousness, how human collective consciousness operates, and how we as human beings, those of us that are aware, have the responsibility then to change if there's things that we don't see fit for the future. And so we need to be at that point to where we can, once we now on a collective level, we're moving into this clarity. Now, those of us, and this is why I say the need for true shaman is right now is more than ever, because clarity on collective level, that's a lot, and there's a lot of panic gonna go along with it, because like I talk about in 2016, for 2016, right? Because 2016 was a tower. If you look at those, if you go by these cards, okay, if you go by archetypes, okay, 2016 was a tower. 16 is a tower. Everything was breaking apart. So look back. Now, what is 6 and 9? They're the mirror, an inverted mirror. So now we had a year 19, which was the sun. Okay? So, and so now look at that. But at the same time, as they're mirroring each other, right? And you will see this in your life. And so it will reflect, because the personal and every individual is part of the whole of collective human consciousness. And this is why I say, when I like to scare some people from fake it until you make it crowd, I tell them, hey, there is no secrets, and I can remote view everything, that I have access to everything, past, present, and future. There's nothing that's inaccessible. That's the truth of the universe. But fake it until you make it crowd, they like to hide behind the masks. So it scares them, because they feel like you're ripping their mask off. So they feel threatened by that. Okay. But what I talk about is that, and so now we're moving into that year 2020, which is a perfect vision. And at the same time, it's 11/11, you guys, okay? Just at the same time, as year 2009, 19, is a mirror of 16. So what's going to happen is the mirror exactly is going to mirror in the energy field too, because numerology, believe it or not, it's all connected. Okay. So it's like I used to say, some of these people used to say, "Oh, Lily, you using tarot cards? I thought it was all astral and all of that stuff." Yeah, when people do magic, when their intent is to do black magic with tarot cards, yeah, it's all what's at the core. But if you're using as the tool to assist you here in this reality, to assist your conscious mind through telling, through the metaphors, through this type of thing, for as long as we align and harmonize our conscious mind to this collective awakening and transformation that humanity is going through, this is the new age. If you can't do it, you're faking until you make it crowd. So this is what I'm saying. The reason why the reason you are guys, every one of you guys here that are still here watching what I had to say, you are the reason why it took me a year to to work through, to be able to come out publicly. And so the reason I wanted to bring this and give this information out and put it out there, because I knew because I knew in my responsibility, I knew that I knew since I was 5. So how can I not have the responsibility to tell others about it, that this is what's coming and you guys will experience this, because we're moving through this, because I already seen it, that's happened. And so for knowing that you every one of you will show up here to watch, and then that you will benefit from this, from me sharing my experience, how it is that when you operate in that timeless space, you cannot not see the future, because you know who creates the future, you know how to operate it. Because ultimately, when you step on that path of transformation yourself, you will reach the point to where you will recognize yourself, meaning you will know yourself, know the self at the point. And this is what I say, this is the point, your eternal point. This is when you recognize that you are an eternal being, and you are the beginning, you are the end. And so that's very powerful point. And then you can apply any tools, tribal, not tribal. I just talk about Native Americans a lot, because Native Americans tools are simple, yet they're the most close to the most to the universal sort of structure. And that's why I talk a lot about natives. And plus, you guys, I am here. I'm walking on this land. I am all recalibrated to the land, because our souls are. This is the anchor, or we're rooted in. Our soul is rooted in the land. I don't know how else to explain this, because it's a spiritual thing, but it's rooted in the land. It's land that actually births the soul. It's like the land is like, look at it as like the sack that the baby's in. Look at the land. That's what feeds the soul. That's what gives birth to the soul. Soil, right? That's what is soil. It's called soil. Okay. So, all right. Oh my God, 30 minutes. So back to that prediction for America was mostly for America, the prediction on eclipse in August of 2017. And I talk about there, and I talk a lot about things in there on starting to um, show up, because this is what I do, you guys. It's not that I do psychic readings, is that um, I can observe, you can say that. I can observe what, like an energy, or what is happening on a collective level. Like what is the whole of collective human consciousness? What's happening in that area, meaning in that energetic state, and then eventually will manifest. And this is why and the people call it a predictions, and I call this, so when I talk of these things in these times, I call them predictions, because it will manifest then according to how the flow of that energy will be processed, you can say, maybe not processed, or how it will at the exact point when it will realign a collective human uh, awareness here in the conscious mind. Okay, so this is when the energy manifests, when people will start seeing things clearly, and everything is kind of, but what can you see clearly? Things were there the whole time. It's just the blinders are disappearing. And as we talk about the veil, a lot of people know this terminology, the veil, or unveiling, or the veil is lifting, or whatever the terminology you want to use. But first, it happens on a personal level, on that, no, not a personal, on the individual level. It has to, because we are the seeds, right? You can't grow a tree without the seed being there. And so this is why it's so important to understand, because there's a lot of this terminology used for projecting propaganda and projecting these programs that I also talk about in 2016. I didn't leave behind the part of those that's going to space dust, and the timelines, multiple timelines will be space dusted. This is what the transformation, transmutation is all about. When the butterfly turns from a worm into butterfly, the worm does not exist anymore. And same thing here. That's why I say all this infection, it doesn't, when you clear yourself of parasites, nothing lost. Parasites are dead. That's it. But the true life of your life is only blossoms more. So this is why I said in the 2016 prediction, by 21, 24, it's just simple existence. It's because we're going to be choosing our own. This is where free will comes into place. We're choosing our own existence. I never said that everyone's going to choose to facilitate correction timeline. No. And I give you a great explanation of what they're going to attempt to do. They're going to attempt to throw a new programs. There's going to be new aliens. There's going to be new saviors. There's going to be all this same shit, different day. They're just going to throw more sparkles, you know, on that shit, and they're gonna try to shove it down the humanity throat. Why? My favorite question, why? And they will still do it until they go space dust, meaning until that timeline is completely corrected, meaning it is facilitated by the creator beings, and the correction is facilitated, and the cleanup crew does its job. Cleaning up, meaning judgment. But judgment for those It is justice for those that been in, it is justice. I'll tell you what's the justice will bring. The cleanup crew has to bring justice, because I always said since 2014 about cleanup crew. Did the cleanup crew need to be here if there was no crime against humanity? My report was about the crime that was committed against humanity and then being committed. And so, in all of that, after that, everywhere I went, even when I went deep into snake's pit, in a lot of times I went, and I'm going to talk about media and all of that stuff. And I'll talk about why I had to go into this middle of sort of lion's den and talk about things, because evidence needed to be presented, because without it, I mean, it was a complicated mission, you guys. Complicated mission, because media is my cup of tea. So I'm going to be working on that. I'm working on that nonstop. I haven't stopped working on that. I don't know, for I don't know, since 2007. Okay, you guys. So in that, I talk a lot about America and how everything's going to turn inside out, and that what divides America will become visible, which coincided with what I said in 2016, that 2017 was the year to where that after that year, it was a marker. So the years that I put in there, those are the markers. And so this is how I predict. I can only see the markers in a certain, maybe a year or so. And those markers, sometimes I do see, and for those specific markers, sometimes I do have this in my dream time. This is what I talk about, the spiritual sort of confirmation. And this is usually how it happens, is then I am completely catapulted into the future time, and I could see myself or observe myself in future. And so then I can, for a moment there, I could see exactly and feel everything as though I am there in that future feeling. And exactly. And so at that moment, I know already what had happened from the now moment that I'm here in this present to that future. And if that happens, okay, at night, that this is how you can say I am able to do my predictions, is because I can read my own future self, if that makes any sense. I hope it makes sense. But if I do the predictions for the future, this is how I do them. And so then when I said in there that after 2017, the hiding and the masks are going to start just melting off, I can't see it because my predictions are not in. So this is why I'm telling you exactly how it is. It's almost like I get transported into my future self. And then whatever I know in that moment that had happened in the past, that I can perceive on that time or remember, or that I would feel it in my conscious mind, so to speak. Then I come back, I wake up in the morning, right? And then I have to sort of then put it together, what might have happened. If this is something that I have a feeling that's important prediction, or something that's a marker. And so all of my predictions are usually sort of markers in timeline, to where they're just an energy reading that only makes sense. Like you see the energy behind, you see like, okay, this is like, okay, a machine for pasta, right? and it's gonna make angel hair pasta, and it's gonna have those cuts out there for this type. So this is kind of, you can say that on an energetic level, I can kind of see and guess then, oh, okay, this is gonna be an angel hair hair pasta, or this is gonna be uh spaghetti. This dough is going to be cut into spaghetti or whatever. So think of it as like, okay, it's a dough, and then I see, in my mind, and this is like a pattern that energy might go through. So this is what I basically, how my predictions work. And so this is that, you guys, for 2020, in a way. um the ultimate mission will be clear. And for those that is not clear, their mission is not for human benefit. And that's what ultimately we're going to see by the end of 2020. And I'm talking about collective. So it's going to be an intense year. So think about it right now, how unaware people are, how asleep people are. And I know it's hard to believe that, but maybe not 2020, but 21, 22, because 2020 and then 2022 will mirror each other. So this could be a 3-year period that I'm talking about here, next 3-year period. But if this is the 3-year period, the next, by the end of 2020, you'll definitely see a lot of signs of the cleanup crew progressing in the cleanup, sort of this whole reality on the collective worldwide stage. I'm talking about worldwide stage right now, you guys, because I think we're at the end of, I don't know, at the end of that. Oh, it's nation versus nation, or it's west versus east, or whatever. It's not. It's evil versus human kind. That's what it is about. And this is what I'm talking about, the clarity, and why it has to be gained, that clarity, because this is what ultimately, this is what it is. It's evil versus human beings. And so for those people that gonna claim it, they don't have clarity. And this is what 2020 full vision is all about, is that clarity that I was talking about, that after 2017, we're gonna know what side you're on. Even if people are in denial stage, because as I was talking about this 7 stages of healing for humanity that we were going to go through, and I said after 2012 was the beginning of the stage of denial. And that was obvious. And fake it until you make it, new age crowd were still faking it, and they were in denial that if you fake it, your reality is an illusion. And then they try to convince everyone else that your reality is an illusion. So let somebody else who knows better than you, have control over it, right? And here I come into why media purge was such a big deal, and it had to happen, because now what we also going to come to see in 2012 is that is that I mean, in 2020, what we're gonna see is this media purge, where we're gonna gain clarity what actually the media apparatus is all about. That and why, when I talk about that media is my cup of tea, but yet I talk about Club Idiots Assembly, because media is Club Idiots Assembly. It is a foreign, in fact, in United States. It is a foreign, and for the most of the world, it is a foreign intelligence agencies. And that's what media is in United States. And so for that, to go against that and to reveal that and to bring that to the surface, it wasn't an easy mission. And for those people in the cleanup crew, as I talk about us being as Earth intelligence agency, and so I've actually referred to us in the past as Earth intelligence agencies, because that's what it was. So you guys now understand, and I've talked a lot about the media deception. And so, in fact, for my prediction for 2018, most of it was about the media purge, but nothing was happening on that stuff. And I talked about the alternative media purge on that time, because I said that mainstream media, mostly for the cleanup crew, that was mostly done. Mainstream media was done. And then what mainstream media, once the cleanup crew got hold of them, they ran with their full diaper, and many of them ran under cover of alternative media. And then they presented themselves as alt media or truth speakers or truth media people, right? And so all of those agents, once an agent, always an agent, right, in the media. And so it needed to be deconstructed in which way. You can't deconstruct something without seeing it for what it is. And you can't just change something without, and seeing it for what it is. And so I think that right now, and this is why I said in 2018 that mainstream media was pretty much done. The revealing of what mainstream media is all about, that it was a propaganda machine. Okay? But now, the next layer, as you can see, the propaganda machine is just puppets. But the puppet masters are hiding under the alt media truth speakers and radio show hosts and all of that stuff. But those are puppet masters, you guys. And so this is what I was talking about in 2018, what my prediction was. And this was more probably that you're going to see it manifested in 2022, because you will gain clarity on what is truly, and I've said this, I think, in my last journal too, what truly is alternative media is all about. What was it designed for? What was its ultimate goal? Who used it? Who abused it? Because it felt it was it's a mockingbird operation. And so it's under its umbrella. And like I said, there is at least just Club Idiots Assembly is one just in America that we know, but it's a mask. It's just a mask. It's an empty shell. Okay. It's just a show. It's for the show. It's for that. Everything else is behind the scenes. Everything is behind the curtain. And that's why it takes so much. That's why it even says in the Bible that what we're fighting for, when you know what you're fighting for, when you truly know what you're fighting for, when you're not fighting, for your ego, and you're truly fighting for in the spiritual war. If you are participating in the spiritual war, then you know what we're fighting for. This is what I'll tell you what we're fighting for. A child is being sacrificed every 3 minutes. Every 3 minutes. For those reasons. So then that form thought could live. So, and then ultimately, because that's what's happening ultimately, every 3 minutes. So ultimately, what it trickles down, everyone down there, and like I said, when you reveal what's on the top, what happens? All the masks gets displayed, and you create chaos in that whole structure. So right now, when you look at it, and you look at it, what's happening with mainstream media and how everything becomes uncovered, right? And even with Epstein case, right? And how the media now is showing, like I said in 2018 prediction, like I said, they're gonna speak their own truth, because after 2017 this is what's gonna start. It's just that energy is so strong, there is no way to push back. You can't push back creation. You can't undo what's been done in quantum field. You can't undo it with your basics physics knowledge. You can't, you know? And so that what nature force of nature is extremely strong. I mean, it's stronger than anything else in this reality, than anything else. Okay, so what you see in mainstream media, they basically out there, it's almost like they had a spell put on them. They went and go and say that, oh, we had it all. We had it all. And for 3 years, we had it all. We had the evidence and we had everything, but we never put it out there. So they're admitting to covering for those activities, right? They're admitting to covering for those activities. So for those of you that know our special in alternative media, special ones, like Chris Geo also came out and said, oh, I had that story too. Right? I had that story. I just sat on it for a year. That's what he admitted to. So for those of you guys that see how it mirrors, same shit. And so admitted to it and knew what happened. And so right now, this is what I'm saying. What they're protecting, and that what media ultimately was protecting, is this, that what it takes every 3 minutes. What it takes. That's ultimately why we have in alternative media, we have people that scream and yell aliens over here, right? Who does that? Laura Eisenhower, David Belcock, all of those people. Ultimately, knowingly and willingly protecting this activity that has to happen every 3 minutes on the planet. And they can't hide that now because, like I said, this is what the predictions are. They can't hide this fact anymore, what they're protecting. And so for those of us, of course, they're gonna do all this stuff. But in 2020, you know, we can't, it's impossible. But of course, like I said, a parasitic structure doesn't know anything else but to to go after what it needs. It's not, you can't expect something that it cannot do. It's a organism that does not operate on that field. It has no, it's a battery source, okay? And this is what it is. And what we're going to find out is the truth about everything. And so, like I was saying, in 2017, through that prediction for the eclipse, there was a lot for America, but it was also for the world, because the world right now, and this is what I'm saying, and a lot of you seeing it, it's just waking up at an extreme sort of, it's just, it goes like that. And why? Because it's starting to manifest. And when it manifests, when the energy manifests, it first manifests in conscious mind of human beings. Okay, and then this is the awakening, as people call it, right? So what all of this ultimately, that and I've talked of the media purge and why it has to happen, because there is no way that they could hide this truth, although ultimately they were all tasked and paid well to hide it. And some of those people that pretend, like I've talked about, this is not a big secret, like Alex Jones, right? And all of Alex Jones wannabes. And they know what that means. They mean a lot more than just wanna be like him. So, and all of those people and all of their connections and how they're playing you, because ultimately this is what, when you wake up, you ultimately, first thing, and this is why I said that the first stage was a denial for collective human consciousness, and we're going to sit in that denial until 2017, until we're going to start getting some clarity about what's happening, because everybody was blind and we couldn't wake up. Denial is denial. When somebody, it's similar, and somebody's in denial, you guys seen it when somebody's going through grief, and this is the first stage, is denial. And so and then I talked, in one of those stages is bargaining. And so what we're seeing right now actually is a lot of people are stepping into that stage, because they're seeing that writing on the wall right now, and so now they're bargaining. So I see a lot of that. Deanne, children. Okay, this is what I announced, the children thing, situation, and this is what, when you go back and you look back at some of those people that I went on and talk about what's happening to the children. Those are people now are involved in well, they were involved then, but the reason why I talk about what they were doing to those children is to put the evidence out there and put those people on notice. Okay, because this is what, and those of you that study how energy works and how they work, and how they do notices and how they tell you what they're gonna do. I did a lot of that too, because it works both ways, because that's how universe, universe work. It's all about harmony and balance. Okay, and so your intent has to be that you can't just have a blinder to one side of your energy and just say, somebody else, because if you have blinder, you're not in control. You don't have, like what I say, you don't have a 360-degree view. And this is, again, comes your 2020, that full vision, which I talk about, is that 360-degree view, meaning you can see it in timeless space, and then you will see the time as cyclical, because you will see this mirroring energy and how it interacts, because everything everything is connected. And so the past is connected to the future, the future is connected to the past, through you. And that, I mean, it's the craziest thing, because that eternity, it runs through you. This is that flow that I've talked about in my healing videos, that flow that you open up. So what we're gonna see a lot is, we're gonna see a lot of panic episodes. Okay, now in 2012, 20, we're gonna see. So I talk about the media purge. So what you're gonna see is, you're gonna see a lot of them admitting to doing a lot of things that they shouldn't be doing, because they never counted, or they never could perceive, they never could even allow themselves to plan for loss. And so the 2020 then becomes the victory. And that's why it's a resurrection. Because then, and for those of you, just look at the illustration of this card. Okay. And just see it, just even that should tell you a lot about what's truly going on and what we're going to experience this year. So everything melting. There is, in the vibrations is just going to be everything that, and this is why I say that update. I'm also giving you an update, because you're going to see a lot of that. Why, when I do my predictions, I also giving you an update on the deconstruct and what's going to be happening with those energies that are going away, or that we are transmuting, and how are they going to be going away. And then they're not going to go away quietly. The parasites are not going away quietly, you guys. They don't. So they're gonna be creating, there is gonna be a lot of panic episodes that would incite a lot of drama amongst them. But this all is gonna be it can only will benefit those that are operating on that energy. But how will benefit them? It will benefit them in a negative way, because all of it is going to be in a negative way for them, because it's a karma time. Like I said in 2016 prediction. So it's a karma time. So meaning they're going to have to reveal themselves. They have to reveal everything. So they have to reveal themselves, that what they're covering for, what it is they're covering for. And little by little, they have to reveal themselves, what it is that they're ultimately covering for. And so then it has to do with the spiritual enslavement of human souls. And so this has to do with the Vatican, you guys, and the contract too. So and you know, and all of that, and that was the contract. Okay. And who sold us out? We're going to find that all of that out starting in 2020. We're going to gain clarity on all of that stuff, because we're talking about, and this is what I say, because when you recognize that you're an eternal being, you recognize your freedom. You recognize your free will. And then ultimately you can say you can never be enslaved, through religion or anything, but you also see what religions are. And so we have this spiritual enslavement. And so humanity ultimately, because it's, again, three worlds. And so when you ask about what they do with the children and why, this has to do with this contract that Vatican is holding right now. And so imagine the judgment that humanity needs to unleash, or will unleash already. It's already unleashed. The kind of judgment that needs to be unleashed on those that hold those contracts, right? So the blood contract is held by Vatican, right? This is your blood money and all of that stuff. So this is your blood market and all of that stuff. It's who's in it and how and all of that. And so ultimately, this is what ultimately, and so you when you think about the money and the banking and all of that stuff, because this is also, like I said, and then don't you guys forget pharma layer. That's a force in itself, an evil force that holds a lot of, look at the medical industry in America. And whose hands is it? Who's holding it? So and the banking, of course, and all of those stuff. So all of those are contracts that are held by certain entities here that needs to be dissolved. Okay. And so that contract we're talking about for children, that is held on the spiritual level. And that's why we are here. We are fighting ultimately that type of war. This is why when I talk of war, I'm not talking of the war created for those entities to deliver that energy so they can exist. I'm talking about spiritual war that we're here ultimately as a warriors here to do. And so as all of that coming out, you got to understand that the reason it has to be visible, it has to be visible so we can end it and transmute it, because no energy can be thrown away or anything. It can only change form, change state. And so this is what transformation and transmutation is all about. And so what we gonna do this, and so look at this as starting in 2020 on the collective level, we're gonna step into this stage of acceptance. Okay, if you look at that stage of recovering or going through that on a collective level, we're going to be stepping into, I don't know how many years that stage will take us through, but we're going to step into acceptance. And the reason why, so we can see ultimately why all these other organizations operate and how they operate and how their loyalty, who their loyalty, and this is what I've talked about after 2017. So loyalty, higher loyalty, right? I don't mean to quote somebody's book out there, but you understand what higher loyalty means. An oath, spiritual oath. And those groups that have those collective oaths, because it's a collective oath, because we're stepping into collective cleaning. Okay, period. Okay, so this collective cleaning, now acceptance. So now humanity will start accepting the reality, or seeing, as I said, so seeing the reality for what it is, and then understanding what this is all about, that we also ultimately, when we do our healing on the individual level, we contribute to collective healing, first of all, and then we affect that collective healing on this level. And so we know that now all of this is acceptance, meaning we can't be lying to ourselves. We can't be lying to ourselves that we're going to be ascending into 5D. And this is what, or that some kind of aliens will come and save us. This is why none of that propaganda or tactics that they use to scare you, so you're dealing with fear, and you also at the same time you're producing that fear frequency, so then those entities can feed on you. So the puppet masters, because the puppet masters can control puppets by tricking the puppets into giving them their power, and this is how they operate. Yes, 5D and psyop. It's more than psyop. It's actually they seeding you with the demonic possession, basically, because you get a false belief, and there you go, and then you believe in falsity, and so then you're just a food for demons. That's all it is. That's what they are. They turn you. If you believe in 5D ascension, you're basically made into a food for demons. That's pretty much what it is. You food for demons. Oh my god, 114. Are you guys enjoying this? I'm gonna go a little bit over. So, are they AI based? Yeah, this is the discarnate spirits, but it's collective. So it's a collective level. So it's like a space. It's a collective memory from a very past, and so they don't exist. Like I said, those of you that I've talked about AI in 2015, what it is, and the black goo. So the only physical presence is the black goo, and this is why in those MK Ultra thing they inject their operatives with black goo, and then this is where you get the eye thing and the implementation and all of that stuff, and how they put chips behind the eyes and things like that, for MK Ultra and all of that stuff, because then the black goo is the only physical presence, besides all the nanotech. The nanotech, there's a lot of different nanotech and all of that stuff. But basically, what you can say, a lot of people are just the biological suits, but a lot of people are being turned into zombies. Okay. So they've been bit, like they've been infected with this black goo infection, and it goes on a genetic level. So when they mess with people, MK Ultra and stuff, it's not just mind control programming. It's not just breaking and splintering of the mind. When they're children, they do more. They inject them with black goo and stuff like that. So they also alter genetics of the human being. So then that discarnate entity can then operate that human use that human being as a vehicle. And this is what they do, and so I'm not gonna point too much, but you can kind of look and see there's a certain bloodline that likes to, and even if you look at the royalty that is right now around the world, yeah, and what's coming out, they're all depend on this rituals of drinking, you know what, and this is for the reasons because of this genetic, I call it, well, you can call it disorder, but it's a genetic sickness, because that's how to say, it's dead genetics. So it's non-existent. It's like it's that what is no longer is. So I don't know how else to explain, but basically it's dead. It's dead, and so there's only memory. It's nothing backing that up. Okay. So it's like, so basically through the belief system they can manifest, because they're still manifestors, and so this is why they need so many people to have these belief systems. This is why the whole Abrahamic religions were because they have to install this abuse based theory and abuse based spirituality on all of humanity. They couldn't just do it with just MK Ultra and just leaders. They had to do this to all of the people, and so a certain bloodline, um, sacrifice themselves, and they got infected and all of that stuff, and you guys will understand what's going on, and how that all has to, it even says in the Bible, hello. It even says in the Bible that it's gonna end, it's gonna go space dust. There is no future, there is no future for any sort of that stuff. None of that stuff was real to begin with. Really, and you go, it was a locally created evil stuff, and it's because of this infection. Because what we have, you said, Zur, you have, I see DNA like a technology. And for it, yes, DNA is our ultimate, that's our codes. That's, you can say that's our quantum computer codes. A quantum, yeah, because we are a quantum computer, bioquantum. So eh, those are our codes. So that's what DNA. Those are codes for this reality. And so for, like, for this reality, and so those are the codes that we can, through this physical form, because this is your vehicle in physical form. So and for your for that energy. So for them, it's the same thing. They gotta only possess. And so this is why I always talk about this as a possession, because it is a possession. And they talk about this in religion too, but oh my God, poor religious people. They don't know shit. They're just being poor people. I mean, poor people. They just, the abuse, because what happens is that abuse, and it keeps, because religion is just abuse. All it is abuse. Without abuse there would be no religion. If you take the abuse out of every religion, and you say, okay, no more abuse in this religion, any sort, and give full, um, and grant human being, what Jesus wanted to grant each human being. What ultimately Jesus came here to do is to grant the freedom to each human being, right? So what if we all just become Jesus at one point and decide that we're just going to grant all human beings the ability to be free? What religion would stand? None. None would stand. So that's ultimately what you guys, so look at it, right? Because, and this is what, how you can ultimately gain freedom, is you end this abuse based, what I talk about, victim victimizer reality, and that many people are stuck in it, and that's how it operates. Without that, without victim victimizer, they cannot have you contribute your energy or contribute to them anything. So this is why, I talk about this, and I talk about Abrahamic religions being, and who holds that contract, and ultimately Vatican is the one that makes money off of that blood, right? That they contracted humanity for. So there is going to be a lot going on there in Vatican, you guys, starting in 2020. So watch for Italy. Our Italian human beings out there, I'm going to say to anybody who's in Italy there, and any of you guys that watch here, you're in Italy, go do your rituals. Open that pit. Open that pit into, they're protecting it. So do what your spirit calls you. But for those of you that there, that is a bomb. Vatican is ooh, did I say bomb? That's gonna explode. No, it's a pressure cooker right now. And there is a reason for it. So, but ultimately, they hold the contract. So, the servants of that market. And this is who ultimately thinks that they have the right to, they think they own life of every human being that's here because it's been granted to them. That right been granted to them through that contract. But let me ask you, those of you that gonna hear this and all of that are protecting that. So when that contract is null and void, who's gonna protect you? And are you protected? You're no longer protected. What? What? Imagine that. So this is what we're working on, but I'm not going to say this is predictions just for 2020. But that contract will be, is no longer valid already. In eternal world, it's no longer valid. And that's what I've been trying to tell these idiots ever since September of 2014. Your existence here is no longer valid. До свидания, до свидания. Pooh. Space dust, space dust. And so this is what we're doing. We are the cleanup crew, you guys. You, the shamans, the spiritual warriors, those of you that do the battles in silence for humanity, that do the prayers, that do the rituals, that do the acknowledgement, even acknowledging the correction timeline is already contributing to the positive changes and that our human consciousness evolution, we have to evolve. And this is what ultimately correction timeline is all about, you guys. I didn't read a lot. You guys are going, oh my gosh, your comments are always amazing, you guys, always amazing. And so this is ultimately what we're going to see. We're going to see so many masks. We're going to see so many episodes of panicking and drama and all of that. But those of you that have been working in silence, for those of you that have been shedding your tears under the tree, knowing that the blood was running. And most of you right now, those of you that come to me to say, okay, I need to sort things out just to make sure that I do my mission here, that I don't have any blinders, and every one of you eventually know that this is ultimately why we're here. This is the pressure, is because we're gonna stop the blood flow. We have to. We already did. And right now we just need to manifest it in this reality. And so now, like I said, we can breathe because it's already done. We just need to trust ourselves because we're the ones, and this is why I'm here. This is why I'm talking right now, because we are the ones that's going to anchor this correction timeline. We are the ones that have to anchor this in this reality. No more blood. No more blood. Close the lid. Stop the flow. And whatever it is we need to do, and this is what I'm doing. This is why ultimately I win to those agents that do work to cover. They do this for the paycheck. Most people that I talk to in past 2 years, they don't even understand what they're covering for. They're so programmed up to here, they don't even know, but I still had to say things to put it on record. And so I put on record with those people all these things that have been done and how the blood flow operates, and how all these people are now that are out there, they've got the notice. They can't say they didn't. So they can't say they didn't. This was the main reason. And so when I know what these people are protecting, then yeah, I go undercover and I talk about it so that they, at this time, they can't say, and they can't fight me and say, Lily, the blood flow gotta keep going because I want my paycheck. This is what these people are fighting me for. Ultimately, this is what they're fighting. And what we're fighting, and what I'm saying that what we're fighting is the God is on our side. The universe is on our side. Everything is on your side. We are unstoppable. This is why it is done. It is done. And that's why I say, for those of those in I never were afraid of them, to call them out in alternative media. And I call them all Bethel and retards and idiots and all of that, because that's what they are. They are protecting the blood flow of innocent children. And they're going to come up with excuses why they protected it all this time and why they had it. But they had the story about this happening, but they sat on it because it wasn't profitable. The story wasn't profitable. This is your truth seekers. This is the ones that telling you how to ascend, how to be true with God, how to be in good relationship with your God, how to be a moral human being. These are the scum. So I went into that middle of that scum pool, into that swamp of those that were protecting. Yet they're not even media. It's an intelligence agency running a mockingbird up. To do what? To keep humanity's attention on somewhere else so they don't notice, or they never find out that every 3 minutes there is a child that is killed. So they're going to fight. But those of you that needs to anchor this, you know what you're doing. And you know that you're not going to, go yap about it, but you're going to do it. And it's already done, you guys. And this is why I'm here, thankful for each and every one of you for doing this and for anchoring the truth. Because of what these people done, is they done so much more damage by protecting these people. And and here we are, you guys. And I've been talking about this for years. And they tried to steal my information. They tried to do all kinds of things. And all this is for this ultimate, you guys. My ultimate goal is stop the blood flow. No more. And so I hope that in 2020, this comes to collective human awareness. It has to. It has to. And so this is, in fact, is my intent for 2020. We can no longer stay asleep and let this evil run us because we're too weak to stand up for our innocence. Because we want to scream how strong we are, but yet nothing to show for. And with my predictions, what I said about America and the cleaning up that will take place, if you guys haven't seen the proof of that it had started in a big way already, it will only get a lot bigger, a lot bigger. And then we, of course, all of this is gonna roll out into the world. And so we'll see a huge awakening in our world in next couple of years, you guys. So I am gonna end for today. I might do more on future if I'm gonna be here, you guys. Because we don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know what's gonna happen with my YouTube channel, so I can't really tell you much what's gonna happen here. Um, but we'll see. I'm kind of I don't have any answers. I honestly don't know, and my spirit is kind of just saying, just be where you are, and that's where I am, just moment to moment right now, you guys, because it's gonna be an intense year, because we're gonna have to anchor a lot of this correction ideas, I guess, and all of that. And so we need to realign ourselves to that, to what we need to refocus on, what it is that we truly are attempting to do here, because it's not just what I said. It's not to just stop that, because a lot of our focus and now have to come into focuses to, like I said, what can we do to change it, to fix it, and to do this, and to create a future collective together, to where we can't, as humanity together, we don't allow this to ever, 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 ever happen in our reality. And this is what I talk about, taking responsibility for our creations, for our creation, and for our reality, and for our timeline. And so I thank you guys so much for joining me. This has been an incredible year for me personally. And I want to thank each and every one of you. And I hope that my rants in these journals have been helpful to you and beneficial in your own growth. And if it was, I am so glad, and it was worth it for me to go through all this drama and all of those things that I had to go through. But I wouldn't change one thing, because you guys, I mean, the joy that I've experienced getting to know myself and sharing this with you is just an amazing experience. It's something that is just so authentic, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. And so going into this new year, I just keep in mind that you are an eternal being, and everything in your life begins and ends with you. And so be true to yourself, because you're the one. You're the one that's going to judge yourself. You're the one that's going to appreciate the things that you gain, the knowledge that you gain. Your life, it's for you. It's for you. I was here always for you guys. Because your life is eternal if you make it. So it's been hard to talk about subjects that I had to talk about. But if I didn't, who would? I had no choice. Because I knew about it. I knew about the little ones. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't live with myself if I didn't speak up. So that's why I speak up. So, and I thank you, everyone, for listening. Because my conscience is clear. And I did what I could. So I thank you so much. And let's just hope that I'm still here in 2020 on this channel. And then you guys come back. You have a wonderful, wonderful 2020. May the universe grant you all the clarity that you need so you know how to apply your gifts and how to do right by yourself, by your past, your ancestors, and by your future, to do the right thing for your future, for your children's future, for your grandchildren's future. We do that for all of it because we're all connected. And so I thank you so much for going on this journey with me. I love you so much and thank you for your support. It really meant so much to me because it was difficult. But I couldn't keep quiet. I had to fight for the little ones, for the innocents. Because if we don't, who will? Who will? So I thank you so much for your courage to do so. And everything. Love you guys. I'll see you in 2020. It's going to be beautiful. Light. Light everywhere.